Hi, this is Katherine, and here's my presentation for this particular lesson. Today we're going to be in a girls-only classroom. We will have split the girls up with guys and girls. Last class period would have been the group session covering the basics of sex and what sex education is. It would be on the reproductive systems of both male and female. It would cover fertilization, pregnancy, and delivery. Then they would also talk about misconceptions of delivery or of pregnancy. There would be a question and answer segment. Then they would do the infamous trying on of condoms and talking about how to start that conversation. So with this one, it's going to be a girls only class. This is a Beyonce quote, "Who run the world, girls." We'll start out by explaining the objectives. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to label the steps of the menstrual cycle with an accuracy of 95%. Then by the end of this lesson, students will be able to discuss methods of staying comfortable during their menstrual cycle. Then for the third one, by next class period, students will be able to identify and explain 5 types of contraceptives, including mode of administration, and how they prevent pregnancy with an 85% accuracy. So to start the class, we'll spend 5 minutes on a quiz of the reproductive systems talked about in that previous class. Then for the bonus question, they'll have to write 2 questions they have on anything concerning the female reproductive system, menstruation, or contraceptives. Then they'll hand in the quiz before the class continues. Then we'll do a quick overview of the female reproductive system, not only to clear up, misconceptions that they have if they labeled something wrong, but also to kind of bring them into this lesson. So here we have 2 diagrams, all with the correct labeling. Then I'll kind of allow them to ask questions about it. We'll go over it. I'll even point around to general areas that it may be in, and then allow for any questions such as, point out where menstruation happens so they can actually see the correct place. Then after that, for 10 minutes, we will discuss menstruation and the menstrual cycle. We'll start with it's around 4 minutes. It's a video on the hormonal and gland, activity of revolving around menstruation. So during that time, though, I'm going to give them a worksheet that kind of has a bullet list of the topics covered in the video. Then they'll have fill in the blanks of the specific hormones, and then they have phases of the menstrual cycle, and when, like the luteal phase, and whenever progesterone is released in the body, and how that causes buildup of the uterine wall, and they'll have to fill in those particular phases. Then that will be a hand-in. Let's see. And that is going to be fulfilling Objective 1, that worksheet. That's how I'll measure it. Then we'll have a short discussion over topics such as what is PMS, premenstrual syndrome, and what is a normal period. With PMS, it's to kind of let the girls know that these symptoms are normal, but also that they are explained, because sometimes it can be overwhelming. We don't want to talk about it, and this gives them a chance to maybe connect with other students on the same issues. Then with a normal period, that's another thing. It's an uncomfortable topic, and especially since this is for 10th graders, they're still not comfortable talking about it. So it kind of explores the world of how different periods can be and in what ways they can be different to kind of stimulate sensitivity around that. For the next topic, we'll be talking about how to manage your period. We'll spend 5 minutes on this. And this seems a little unconventional, but the reason I did this is it ties into the PMS as well as the normalcy of the period, because using the mode of controlling, your menstrual flow can really affect your comfort, and that's a really big deal in maintaining, the kind of life you want to live. So we talk about the different methods that includes tampons, pads, a menstrual cup, and birth control. Now there are different things such as sponges, diaphragm-like things, which is kind of like a menstrual cup but a little different. but I thought these 4 were appropriate for the age group. So I talk about the pros and cons for each one, and let's see. Then the next one is a continuation, is staying comfortable during your period. That includes things you can do such as resting, let's see, hot pads you can use to relax your muscles, medicine, taking medicine, that is something you can do, and then exercising and stretching. So this talks about how you do not have to let it run your life, that you can manage it, and then it can be covered fairly quickly. I have on there that it's for 5 minutes, but that also allows for some discussion, and then that discussion paired with the 2 slides will fulfill objective 2. Let's see, the next topic we will cover is contraceptives. On this, I'm allowing for 10 minutes. It is a highly lecture-based thing. We will talk about the fact that there are many different kinds of contraceptives, but and that contraceptives are there to, first and foremost, prevent pregnancies, but then some can also reduce your risk for contracting STIs. I will start with saying that the only way you can 100% make sure you do not get pregnant is to not have sex, that no matter what birth control you have, there is some risk. Let's see, then we're going to talk about the different types, barriers, hormones, intrauterine, and sterilization. Here's a picture of what the different ones look like. Then we talk about what contraceptives do. There are many different kinds. We need to go over how they're administered, what changes they make within your body, and then also what side effects are going to be. So here I found from online kind of a forum that's a short description of what the different types of contraceptives do. Then let's see, we're going to do the role play situation. Let's talk about contraceptives. This is 15 minutes. This is where I'm going to split the group up, or split the students up into groups of 3. I'll hand them a script that goes over talking about contraceptives with partners, with friends, and with family. With partners, it helps them practice starting the conversation. This will be mainly about condoms or other methods depending on sexuality, and that will just make them comfortable bringing it up. Second, it'll be with friends, which talks about concern and about good communication. Then lastly, it'll be with family or guardians to let them know that they need something, they need more information, and to also help them get in contact with doctors who can prescribe them necessary contraceptives if that's the way they want to go. Lastly, to finish up this section, I'll have one of the groups present the script in front of the class. And so this is the first learning activity we had, was the video that had the fill in the blank sheet along with it, and that was important because it involved visual and audio intelligences, and so that keeps them really engaged, and also kids just love watching videos. And then with this learning activity, it involves kinesthetic and interpersonal intelligences. It allows them to move around, and then also for them to listen to each other and learn from each other, because they'll end up talking about experiences, and that's one of the goals of this activity as well. Lastly, the students will be given a warning about a quiz they'll have the next class period, and it'll be over the menstrual cycle and as well as contraceptives. This is going to involve the menstrual cycle that they labeled during the video, and then the contraceptives will be a pairing and then a definition, a pairing of what the different types of contraceptives will be to what they do, which was actually listed in the PowerPoint. And then that quiz will be fulfilling objective 3. It'll be showing that by the next class period they were able to label the menstrual cycle and identify 5 different kinds of contraceptives. So within this whole class period, we will have hit 4 of Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. With the kinesthetic, I covered it in the role-playing scenario. With the visual, that'll be the PowerPoint in and of itself. It'll also be the diagrams. That'll be a big part of the visual, as well as the video, because the video is a really cool 3D animation, which is... I really like it, so I think it's a good visual. Next, the third intelligence is audio. The lecture, as always, gives kids a chance to hear it. The video also mixes up the audio to another speaker to kind of help them stay engaged. And then as well as the role-playing scenario, it helps them listen to each other. Then with interpersonal, the discussion sections are really the meat of making this an interpersonal experience. It's a very personal experience in and of itself, whenever it happens. So having girls talk about this will allow them to connect to each other. They'll talk about worries, concerns, and then also just be able to connect. Let's see. Then that wraps it up. I'll just repeat the 2 learning activities were the video with the worksheet as well as the role-playing scenario. And that is the explanation of this class period. Thank you so much for listening. And I have my sources listed there.